An Appeal to My Muslim Brothers and Sisters by Mario V. Melendez, January 13, 2015, in reaction to the Charlie Hebdo Muslim terrorist attack on January 7, 2015 in Paris, France, and posted on his Facebook page 6 days later, advocating for Islamic reformation. This is part 5, the conclusion. Eventually, however, all that flowering of 1,000 ideas during Islam's golden age began getting nipped in the bud as that religion's intolerant strain, much less conducive to intellectual curiosity and robust debate, gradually took over. Thus began the end of the golden age in the 11th century, with Rushdie among the few stubborn holdouts. Historians refer to this as the closing of the gate of ijtihad, quote, unquote. Something intended by Islam's guardians to preserve its doctrinal purity, since, supposedly, every conceivable philosophical dilemma on matters of faith had already been answered by the voluminous hadiths, hence there's no need to belabor them again. Big mistake. This was to have profound historical consequences the world will pay dearly for centuries down the road because, in effect, it froze Islam in time and prevented it from keeping up with change, let alone reformation. Indeed, a causal relationship can be made between this and the radical extremism in the news today, which harkens back to when Islam had to compete for hearts and minds, by force if need be, in the very violent and triumphalist Judeo-Christian world of the Middle Ages, in which reformists say Islam was frozen in time, no thanks to the closing of the gate of ijtihad. This freezing, as it were, in the Middle Ages explains some of the perceived backwardness and medievalness of Islam, especially by today's Western world standards. Another consequence, clearly unintended by those who closed that gate, is the fact that the Muslim world has produced nothing of major significance as the West took over the lead and dominated the world in intellectual accomplishments in the 6 centuries since. And such lethargy seems to prevail to the present, making one observer famously say, quote, "All the world's Muslims have fewer Nobel Prizes than Trinity College, Cambridge. They did great things in the Middle Ages, though," unquote. Muslims who take great pride in the prodigious achievements of their past must also have the intellectual honesty to admit that none of that would have been possible without ijtihad, that it was a colossal mistake to have abandoned it in the first place, and that the sooner they get back to it, the better for them. If only all 1.6 billion of them today revive it and practice it again in every aspect of their lives, including their religion, there's no telling the benefit it will do humanity once again. Indeed, a prominent scholar said this of Islam's golden age, quote, "Had there been Nobel Prizes in the 1000s, they would have gone almost exclusively to Muslims," unquote. Unfortunately, today in the Muslim world, Ibn Rushdie is vastly outshined by Osama bin Laden. Conformity to dogma is met by fatwas, and ijtihad has given way to jihad, a Quranic word supposedly benign and noble but now misappropriated and defiled permanently by Muslim terrorists. Indeed, murderous sociopaths have perverted a whole religion in a senseless mission to undo civilization and to drag humanity back to the Dark Age. With no credentials other than brute force, these small-minded, uncivilized bigots, bullies and simpletons dare to appoint themselves the vanguard of a religion so rich in intellectual, scientific and cultural achievements and presume to chart its future course from a preoccupation with the sublime like philosophy and astronomy to an obsession for the prurient, like the 72 doe-eyed virgins in paradise. Islam has indeed been dragged through the gutter. How that happened is truly one of history's most perplexing flukes, since history normally moves forward, not backward. This finally brings me to why I wrote this. I wish to address a plea directly to my Muslim brothers and sisters around the world, particularly the young. Needless to say, you must reclaim Islam from the pretenders and usurpers who are presently desecrating it by the most despicable words and deeds imaginable. When the Ku Klux Klan sprung up across America in the last century with its message of racial hate garbed in religious pretensions, America used everything in its arsenal to ferociously fight it until it was soundly defeated and effectively consigned to the ash heap of history. America thus successfully reclaimed its deeply rooted Judeo-Christian tradition from a scourge that was profoundly tarnishing it. In other words, cleansing a religion of dirt and scum and reclaiming it from thugs and simpletons has been done before and can be done again. But reclaiming Islam isn't enough, and Muslims need to do more. With all due respect, I humbly suggest that it's no longer enough to be a moderate Muslim. Rightly or wrongly, non-Muslims resent what they consider to be lackluster and muted denunciations by moderate Muslims of yet another bloody attack by yet another Muslim terrorist. But I don't believe a rowdy million-man march by moderates in the streets of Baghdad or Damascus, if that's even possible, will make a difference on evil men who misuse Islam or even the Palestinian issue or American foreign policy in the Middle East as nothing but a cosmetic cover for their sociopathic fondness for killing. I appeal to moderate Muslims to take it a step further and to be more proactive. Just as there are Reform Jews who decided to steer away from orthodoxy and fundamentalism so they can be more receptive to religious pluralism in the larger community outside their synagogues, so there ought to be Reform Muslims, as well in relation to the larger community outside their mosques. And indeed there are, just waiting to be listened to and engaged in a sober, dispassionate, and academic dialogue by their more fundamentalist fellow Muslims. For the sake of our common humanity, please give a chance and lend an ear to these reformists among you who are rekindling your dormant tradition of ijtihad and bravely speaking out for much-needed reform to bring Islam to the 21st century. And then please use your enormous power to spread, particularly on social media, what they have started. Indeed, you're just a click away from Islam's own long-overdue, long-awaited reformation, which in turn might bring about a sequel to its earlier golden age. The world awaits the benefits that can once again flow from a great religion with a glorious intellectual past. I opened this essay with a list of infamy, from New York to Paris, hoping I won't ever need to update that list again. I want to close on a positive note with a wish list. I hope that someday those newspaper headlines of killings and pure hate will be replaced by great tidings from the Muslim world of a cure for cancer or AIDS or Ebola or a miraculous technology to double bumper crop harvest and stave off world hunger, or a powerful high-tech method to clean up our woefully ravaged planet of pollution, or an awesome smartphone app that somehow breaks down cultural and religious barriers among peoples, or a novel and just economic paradigm to lift millions out of poverty and squalor, or an achievement in poetry or prose or in the arts so universally uplifting it sends the human spirit soaring to new heights, or any victory great or small in the war against third world illiteracy, superstition and ignorance. Speaking of the last, I'm absolutely ecstatic to actually see that wish come true in the news last month in an ironic juxtaposition to the sombre headlines about Sydney and Peshawar. Earlier, I mentioned a young girl from a place where girls are made to choose between illiteracy or death. Her name is Malala Yousafzai, a devout Muslim who made her defiant choice known to the powers that be and almost paid for it with her life at the tender age of 14. Instead of backing down, that only provoked her to stick it up even deeper to the old, bearded, turbaned bullies, misogynists and ignoramuses who tried to assassinate her for merely wanting to go to school. Her fellow Muslim and kindred spirit Ibn Rushdi, himself an insatiable learner and a trailblazing feminist, would have been extremely proud. For her heroics, Malala won the 2014 Nobel Peace Prize, the youngest in history. No longer is she a small voice, howling in the wind in an obscure village in her native Pakistan. Now she is a giant icon on the international stage with a big bullhorn and a message of education for all, irrespective of gender or religion. And she went right into it in a riveting speech from Oslo to the world. "You go, girl. 1 wish down, 6 to go. Indeed, there is hope." In closing, and in view of the terrorist attack in Paris, it's ironic that it took an atheist magazine, Charlie Hebdo, to bring together Jews, Christians and Muslims shoulder to shoulder behind a common cause. It's also very reassuring that that common cause is freedom of expression, our God-given weapon, against tyranny of every stripe that seeks to bring us to our knees and suppress our thoughts. And, to quote the atheist cartoonist armed with nothing but pencils and crayons who emerged as the hero and the true martyr from it all, "I'd rather die standing than live on my knees." Unquote. Indeed, I wish freedom of expression never ever bows to bullies and terrorists and grows even more fearless and defiant with each and every attempt to silence it. This essay is my answer to those bullies and terrorists. And if you're wondering who I am, I'm neither a journalist, nor a religious, nor a historian. Suffice it to say, je suis Charlie. Yes, I am Charlie. That's the end of Mario V. Melendez's appeal to Muslims for Islamic reformation. If you missed the start of this video, please click on the link on screen to part 1.